An original story narrated exclusively for love beyond words. Clara's first clue that trouble had arrived was not a raised voice or a slammed door, but the way the butler hesitated before announcing the visitor, as if the name itself carried weight enough to bruise the air. It was late March, the kind of day when spring tried to pretend it had one while winter still lurked in the shade, and Ashcroft Hall stood half awake beneath a thin veil of mist. The windows wore pale sunlight like a cautious promise. Clara had been in the schoolroom with Lottie, guiding the child through a passage of French that Lottie insisted was stupid, only because it was difficult. When she heard the muffled footsteps in the corridor and then the soft, precise knock that belonged to staff trained to be invisible. "My lady," Mr. Hale said through the door, "a Mr. Selwyn is called. He insists it is urgent." Clara's hand paused mid-gesture above Lottie's book. "Selwyn," she repeated, tasting the unfamiliar name. Lottie looked up immediately, watchful, absorbing tension like a plant absorbs light. "Is it bad?" the girl asked. Clara offered the steadiness that had become her habit. "It is unknown," she replied gently, closing the book with quiet finality. "An unknown does not always mean bad." She smoothed Lottie's hair once, a brief reassurance, then instructed her to remain with her copy work until she returned. In the corridor, the air seemed colder. Ashcroft Hall, for all its warmth of candlelight and polished wood, could still feel like a place built to hold secrets. Clara descended to the drawing room and found Nathaniel already there, standing by the fireplace with his hands clasped behind him in that disciplined posture of his, composed, controlled, ready to face whatever arrived. At the sound of her entrance, he turned, and the flicker in his eyes was not panic but calculation. "Selwyn?" Clara asked quietly. Nathaniel's mouth tightened. "My cousin," he said, voice low. "Julian Selwyn." The name meant nothing to Clara, and yet it did, because it was spoken in the tone men used when they named the kind of problem that could not be solved with kindness alone. "I was not aware you had a cousin," Clara said carefully. Nathaniel's gaze returned to the fire. "One is not required to speak of carrion until it circles," he replied, and Clara's breath caught at the bitterness tucked beneath his restraint. Before she could ask more, the door opened and Mr. Hale announced the visitor. Julian Selwyn entered like a man who believed rooms were meant to make way for him. He was handsome in the effortless, dangerous manner of someone who had been forgiven too often, his coat cut fashionably, his smile bright and empty. He bowed to Clara with exaggerated grace. "Lady Ashcroft," he said, and the title sounded like amusement rather than respect. Then he turned to Nathaniel. "Cousin," he greeted warmly, as if they were old friends and not strangers connected by blood and rivalry. Nathaniel offered the barest incline of his head. "Selwyn." Julian's eyes glittered as he surveyed the room. The flowers, the silver, the calm order of wealth. "Still the same," he remarked lightly. "Everything polished, everything controlled. One might think grief is merely another thing you can arrange on a shelf." Clara's spine stiffened. Nathaniel's expression did not shift, but Clara had learned the difference between stillness and calm. This was stillness that held tension like wire. "State your purpose," Nathaniel said. Julian sighed theatrically, as if forced into boring business. "Must we be so blunt?" he asked, then smiled at Clara as if inviting her to laugh with him. Clara did not. She met his gaze with polite composure and gave him nothing. Julian's smile faltered only slightly before he recovered. "Very well," he said. "I've come regarding the entail." The word landed like an object placed carefully on a table. "How curious," Nathaniel replied evenly. "I do not recall your concern for my estate." Julian lifted a hand. "Oh, I do not claim concern. Only interest. One must take interest in one's future." Clara's stomach tightened. "Your future?" she asked softly, and Julian's eyes flicked toward her with something like delight that she had spoken. "Indeed, my lady," he said. "If the Ashcroft line ends without issue, the estate does not fall into charity, does it? It passes. To family. To me." Nathaniel's voice was quiet as winter. "The estate will not pass to you." Julian's smile widened. "Will it not?" he asked pleasantly. "There's a great deal of talk in the county. A great deal of observation. People say, he let the words trail off, enjoying the suspense. Clara felt heat rise under her skin, the familiar anger of being discussed as if she were a topic rather than a person. Nathaniel did not take the bait. People say foolish things, he replied. Julian chuckled. Ah, but foolish things become true in law when enough respectable mouths repeat them, he said, then turned his eyes fully on Clara. Forgive me, Lady Ashcroft, I mean no disrespect. I simply wonder, are you happy? The question was too soft to be kind. It was a blade disguised as silk. Clara answered calmly, happiness is not the subject of your visit. Julian's brows lifted, impressed. No, he agreed, but it is the subject of everyone else's. A marriage begun quickly, a wife who arrived with no grand celebration, separate chambers, at least, so the servants tell it. The village always hears. The village always talks. Clara's fingers clenched in her lap beneath her skirt where no one could see. Nathaniel's voice tightened. You have been listening to servants. Julian's shrug was elegant. Servants are the most reliable historians, he said, then leaned forward slightly, his tone turning conversational as if they were discussing weather. Look, cousin, I did not come to insult your wife. I came to make an offer. Nathaniel's gaze sharpened. An offer? Julian spread his hands. A bargain, he corrected. You keep your dignity. I keep my future. Everyone goes home satisfied. Clara felt cold settle in her chest. Speak plainly, Nathaniel said. Julian's smile brightened. Publicly, he said, you must prove your marriage is what it claims to be. Privately, I understand you may have your reasons for avoiding certain obligations. I'm not here to judge, but society will, and the law will, eventually, if your marriage can be challenged. Clara's breath caught. Nathaniel's jaw flexed. And what do you propose? Julian's eyes moved between them, savoring their restraint. I propose, he said softly, that you sign a portion of the estate income over to me now. A legal settlement. A recognition of the fact that I am the likely heir. Nathaniel's voice sharpened. You are not. Julian's smile thinned. Then make me wrong, he said simply. The room seemed to narrow, as if walls leaned closer to listen. Clara felt Nathaniel's tension like a storm under skin. Is that all? Nathaniel asked, voice controlled. Julian nodded almost kindly. I believe it is fair, he said. Better than scandal. Better than courts. Better than the humiliation of your wife being examined by people who enjoy tearing women apart. Clara's eyes burned, but her voice stayed steady. You are not protecting me, she said quietly. You are threatening me. Julian's gaze flicked to her with mild admiration. Ah, he murmured. So you have teeth. Clara held his gaze. Only when necessary. Julian leaned back, smiling as if entertained. Nathaniel spoke then, and the calm in his voice was so cold it felt like ice laid gently over a wound. Leave, he said. Julian's smile widened. Not yet, he replied. I have not enjoyed my tea. He glanced toward the sideboard, where cups sat untouched. No one offered. How discourteous. The cruelty of making a game of it made Clara's hands shake. Nathaniel's fingers tightened behind his back. Clara suddenly understood something sharp and unpleasant. Julian did not only want money. He wanted power. The pleasure of making Nathaniel react, of proving that Ashcroft control could be cracked. You will be offered nothing, Nathaniel said. Julian rose slowly, smoothing his gloves. Very well, he said lightly. I will take my entertainment elsewhere. But cousin, he added, pausing at the door, I will not disappear. You can ignore me, but the entail cannot. You can silence a servant, but you cannot silence London. His eyes slid to Clara. And you, Lady Ashcroft, if you find yourself lonely, do remember that some men are not afraid of obligation. Some men are happy to fulfill it. Clara's cheeks burned with fury. Before she could speak, Nathaniel's voice cut through the room like a blade drawn clean. If you speak to my wife again in that manner, I will ruin you, he said, so softly it was unmistakably dangerous. Julian's brows lifted, delighted rather than afraid. Oh, he murmured. There you are. And then he was gone, leaving the room colder than before. For several seconds, neither Clara nor Nathaniel moved. The crackle of the fire sounded suddenly loud. Clara's breath felt too shallow. Nathaniel's shoulders remained rigid, as if holding back something violent. Clara spoke first, voice quiet. Was he telling the truth? Nathaniel's head turned slightly. About the entail? About being able to challenge us, Clara clarified. Nathaniel's gaze held hers. He can challenge anything, he said. The question is whether he can win. Clara swallowed. And can he? Nathaniel exhaled through his nose. If there is doubt, he admitted, and the honesty made Clara's stomach tighten. If society decides our marriage is a facade, courts will listen. Not because courts love truth, because courts love precedent and power. Clara's fingers trembled. So he is forcing her hand. Nathaniel's expression tightened. Yes, he said. He is trying to. Clara looked toward the door Julian had exited through and felt anger settle into something steadier. Then we do not let him, she said softly. Nathaniel's gaze sharpened. How? He asked. Clara turned to him, heart pounding, and realized this was the question they had been circling since the beginning. How to live as husband and wife when both had been wounded by duty. We remove doubt, she said, and the words came out more calmly than she felt. Nathaniel's eyes held hers, searching. Clara continued, carefully, because she would not surrender her dignity to fear. Not by performing for wolves, she added, but by being united in the ways that matter. In public, and in this house. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. I will not force you, he said immediately. Clara's throat tightened at the instinctive protection in him. I'm not offering myself as evidence, she said gently, echoing his earlier words. I'm offering us a choice, a decision made together rather than one made by threats. Nathaniel's expression shifted, raw emotion flickering behind his control. Clara, he said, voice rough, do you understand what you are asking? Clara stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat of the fire between them. I understand what he wants, she said, and I understand what I want. Nathaniel's breath caught. And what is that? He asked quietly. Clara held his gaze. Not to be a convenient wife, she said softly. Not to be a shield you hold up for appearances. If we were to stand against him, I want to stand as your true partner, not as a role. The silence that followed was heavy with everything they had not said. Nathaniel's eyes darkened. His hands unclasped behind his back for the first time and fell to his sides, as if the tension had become too great to contain. I have been afraid, he confessed, voice low. Afraid of wanting you. Afraid of what wanting means. Afraid it will end like it ended before. Clara's chest tightened because she heard the confession beneath the words. Grief still lived inside him like a locked room. And I have been afraid, she admitted, that you would always keep me at a distance because it felt safer than trust. Nathaniel's gaze softened, almost pained. You deserved more than distance, he said quietly. Clara's eyes stung. Then give me more, she whispered, and the vulnerability of saying it felt like stepping into open water. Nathaniel stared at her, as if the world had shifted. If I step closer, he said, voice shaking at the edges, I cannot promise to be perfect. Clara's mouth curved faintly, not amused but tender. I'm not asking for perfect, she said. I'm asking for real. Nathaniel inhaled slowly, as if gathering courage, and took one careful step forward. His hand lifted, hesitated, then settled gently at Clara's cheek. The touch was reverent, not claiming, not demanding. Clara leaned into it, feeling warmth spread through the place in her that had been braced for months. Nathaniel's thumb moved once, a slow stroke, and in that tiny motion Clara felt his restraint becoming something else. Not a wall, but a promise. Asterisk, I will be careful with you. Not away from you. Asterisk, when he kissed her, it was gentle and deliberate, like a question asked in the only language that could hold it. Clara answered without haste, her hands coming to rest against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart under layers of cloth and duty. They separated slowly. Nathaniel's forehead rested briefly against hers. Slowly, he murmured. Clara's voice was steady. Always, she replied. That night, They did not perform theatrics. They did not summon servants to witness some staged tableau of marital bliss. But they changed the architecture of the house in a way that mattered. Nathaniel walked Clara to her chamber and did not stop at the door. He entered with her, as if crossing the threshold was a decision, not an accident. The room was quiet, candlelit, the bed turned down with an unasked invitation. Clara felt the old fear of being reduced to obligation rise like a ghost, and Nathaniel must have sensed it because he stopped and looked at her with clarity. "You still owe me nothing," he said softly. Clara swallowed, heart beating too fast. "Then I give it his choice," she whispered. Nathaniel's breath shuddered, and when he touched her again, it was with patient respect, as if he were learning how to love without fear. The next morning, Mrs. Hargreaves noticed the smallest changes, the way Nathaniel emerged from the east corridor rather than the west. The way Clara's hair had been pinned with a softness that suggested she had not done it alone. The way the air between husband and wife carried a new ease. Servants did what servants do. They observed, then they spread the observation like thread through fabric. But this time, the whispering was different. It was not suspicion. It was inevitability. News traveled beyond Ashcroft Hall to the village, then to the neighboring estates, and finally, inevitably, to London, where Lady Morland received it with a smile that held both satisfaction and warning. "Good," she said aloud to no one, as if a piece had finally moved into place. Yet Julian Selwyn did not retreat so easily. He returned within the week, not to Ashcroft Hall, but to London, and he began making appearances where his presence would be noticed: clubs, salons, dinners, laughing loudly, telling stories half true, letting implication do the work of accusation. Clara did not hear every rumor, but she heard enough to taste their bitterness. One afternoon, a letter arrived from Lady Westbury, coated in false warmth, inviting Clara to tea to discuss the happiness of the Ashcroft household. Clara read it, then folded it carefully and placed it into the fire. Nathaniel watched without speaking, then said quietly, "He is trying to draw you into the arena." Clara lifted her chin. "Then we do not enter on his terms," she replied. Nathaniel studied her with an expression that was becoming unfamiliar, admiration without surprise. "What are your terms?" he asked. Clara's voice was calm. "Truth," she said, "quietly lived, publicly visible, not explained to wolves." Nathaniel nodded slowly, as if recognizing the wisdom. Together they attended Lady Morland's neck salon. Not because they wanted it, but because refusing would be surrender. Clara wore a gown of deep forest green that matched Nathaniel's favored palette, subtle but deliberate, of visual alignment. Nathaniel offered his arm as they entered, and Clara took it without hesitation. The room's eyes turned toward them, hungry. Whispers darted like fish in water. Julian Selwyn stood near the fireplace, smiling as if he owned the evening. When Nathaniel and Clara approached, the conversation around them thinned. Julian's eyes glittered. "Cousin," he said warmly. "Lady Ashcroft." Clara returned his smile with polite calm. "Mr. Selwyn," she said, and gave him no more than he deserved. Julian's gaze slid over them, searching for cracks. "You look well," he remarked lightly, remarkably settled. Nathaniel's voice was mild. "We are." Julian chuckled. "How fortunate," he said. "London adores a happy ending." Clara spoke before Nathaniel could, her voice soft, precise, and unshakable. "London," she said, "adores a spectacle, but it must learn to survive without one." Julian's smile tightened. "Bold," he murmured. "Careful, Lady Ashcroft. Boldness is often punished." Clara held his gaze. "Only when it is empty," she replied. Julian's eyes flicked, irritation flashing. "And if it is not?" he asked. Clara's answer was quiet. "Then it becomes strength." The people nearby pretended not to listen, and yet every ear leaned subtly closer. Julian turned his attention to Nathaniel, voice dripping with mock concern. "Tell me, cousin," he said, "how fares your wife? Does she find married life satisfying?" The exact same knife sharpened again. This time, Nathaniel did not stiffen. He did not glare. He simply turned to Clara, took her hand with calm certainty, and raised it to his lips in a gesture so controlled, so intimate, it changed the air of the room. He kissed her knuckles slowly, deliberately, and held her gaze as if to say, "We will not be separated." The room's breath caught collectively. Julian's smile faltered. Nathaniel turned back to him with quiet finality. "My wife's happiness is not for your entertainment," he said, "and the entail will not pass to you." Julian's voice sharpened slightly. "You speak with certainty for a man with no heir." Nathaniel's gaze did not waver. "I speak with certainty for a man who knows what belongs to him," he replied. Clara's heart hammered, not from fear, but from the weight of being claimed in a way that did not erase her agency. Julian's eyes narrowed, then his smile returned, thin, calculating. "How romantic," he murmured, as if romance were a weakness. "Or how strategic." Clara tilted her head slightly. "Must strength always be strategy to you?" she asked softly. Julian's expression tightened, and Clara realized she had struck something true. He had never known intimacy without manipulation, never known love without leverage. That made him dangerous, but also predictable. The salon moved on, as salons do, turning toward other scandals, other gossip, other prey. Yet the shift remained. Clara felt it in the glances, in the sudden respect in Lady Westbury's eyes, in the way Lady Morland's lips curved faintly, as if acknowledging a victory she would never praise openly. When they returned to Ashcroft House that night, Clara stood by the window, looking down at London's glittering movement, and Nathaniel came behind her. He did not wrap his arms around her immediately. He waited, as he always had, giving her space for choice. Clara leaned back slightly into him, and the movement was small, but it was an invitation. Nathaniel's arms came around her then, gentle, steady, not trapping her, only holding. His breath warmed the side of her neck. "He will not stop," Clara murmured. Nathaniel's voice was quiet and certain. "Then we will not stop either," he replied. "We will outlast him." Clara's fingers covered his hands. "How?" she asked softly. Nathaniel's answer came without hesitation. "By living truth until lies starve," he said. Weeks passed. Julian's influence began to weaken, not with a dramatic downfall, but with the slow closing of doors that London controlled more ruthlessly than any court. One club refused him entry. One hostess forgot his invitation. One creditor grew suddenly impatient. He began to smile too widely, laugh too loudly. And in London, those were the signs of a man sliding toward the edge. Clara watched the change with quiet awareness, and she felt no pity. Not because she was cruel, but because she understood that people who weaponized others deserve the loneliness they created. Then, on a clear morning in April, a letter arrived from Nathaniel's solicitor stating that Julian had attempted to petition a legal inquiry, but lacked sufficient grounds and sufficient allies. The threat was not entirely gone, but it had been pushed back into shadow. Clara read the letter at the breakfast table and watched Nathaniel's eyes soften slightly as he saw her hands finally still. Lottie arrived then, hair slightly tangled, cheeks pink, and climbed into her chair with the innocent confidence of a child who believed the world would hold steady. "Are we going to the park?" she asked eagerly. Nathaniel looked at Clara, and Clara nodded. "Yes," she said. "We are." At Hyde Park, they walked beneath budding trees, London bright and bustling around them, and Clara felt something strange. Not fear of being watched, but the quiet power of being unashamed. Nathaniel offered his arm. Clara took it. Lottie held their hands alternately, swinging between them, laughing at pigeons as if they were the most ridiculous creatures alive. People stared. People whispered. But Clara realized something with sudden clarity. London could look all it wanted. London could speculate itself hoarse. The truth they were building did not depend on approval. It depended on choice repeated daily. That night, back at Ashcroft House, Nathaniel brought Clara to the small balcony above the street, the city's hum rising like distant sea. "I used to believe," he murmured, voice low, "that love was a risk too costly." Clara's hand slid into his. "And now?" she asked softly. Nathaniel's answer was quiet and steady. "Now, I believe the greater cost is living without it," he said. Clara turned her head slightly and looked at him. This man once ruled by fear, now willing to be seen, and felt her chest ache with the quiet miracle of it. When his lips brushed her temple, the gesture was not a performance. It was home. Inside, Lottie slept, safe and warm, and the house no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like a place where shadows could not rule because light had been chosen. In the weeks that followed, Julian Selwyn left London, not with drama, but with the small humiliations that drove men of pride into exile. Lady Morland wrote one last letter, brief and sharp. Asterisk, you have secured what was needed. Do not become complacent. Asterisk, Clara folded it and placed it away. Nathaniel watched her and said softly, "She approves." Clara smiled faintly. "She approves of outcomes," she replied. Nathaniel's mouth curved slightly. "And you?" he asked. Clara looked at him, heart steady, and answered with the simplest truth she had learned to trust. "I approve," she said, "of how we arrived there." And as spring deepened, as the air warmed, as the city shifted towards summer, Clara understood that the story people would tell about her might never be entirely accurate. Some would say she married for security. Some would say Nathaniel married for propriety. Some would insist it was strategy. Let them. The real story was quieter and stronger than rumor. A woman who refused to be reduced to evidence. A man who refused to let fear rule his hands. A child who found laughter again between them. And a love that grew not from fireworks, but from steady, deliberate courage. Love beyond words, lived in the small choices that, repeated, became a life.